A very warm afternoon to everyone. Honorable guests, Dr. P.K. Ahluwalia, former Professor, Department of Physics, HPU Shimla, Mrs. Meenakshi Syal, Convener, Science Week 2022, my dear colleagues and my dearest students. I welcome you all on the behalf of Hansraj Mahila Mahavidyalaya to this second day of Science Week 2022 afternoon session. It's well said that by Carl Edward Sagan that science is the way of thinking much more than it's a body of knowledge. So to encourage this thinking and imbibe scientific temperament among the young minds, PSA, Ministry of Culture, Government of India, in association with Vigyan Prasar, are celebrating Vigyan Sarvatra Pujite at HMV under the nodal agency Punjab State Council for Science and Technology. I would like to invite our very enthusiastic and charismatic Mrs. Meenakshi Syal to welcome our guest, Dr. P.K. Ahluwalia, for this afternoon session.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
हाँ जी. So आज हम यहाँ पर सभी इकट्ठे हुए हैं एक विज्ञान का उत्सव मनाने के लिए. ये 7 days विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते साइंस को समर्पित. ये साइंस को समर्पित, इसमें असल में 28 जो है दैट इज नेशनल साइंस डे, और इस बार आजादी का अमृत महा उत्सव 75 इयर्स की वजह से इसको वीक सेलिब्रेट किया जा रहा है, नेशनल साइंस वीक, और उसका नाम दिया गया विज्ञान सर्वत्र पूज्यते. सो सर, आज ऑफलाइन मोड पे ना आकर के ऑनलाइन मोड में ही सही वर्चुअल मोड पर हम हंसराज महिला महाविद्यालय में आपका स्वागत करते हैं.
It's my great pleasure to introduce a dynamic personality, Dr. P.K. Ahluwalia, who is former Professor, Department of Physics, Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla. He has got a rich teaching experience spanning over 35 years. His primary research areas are theoretical condensed matter physics and physics education research. He has guided more than 16 PhD students and 34 MPhil students, and he has published more than 200 research papers in journals of national and international repute. He has also published a number of books, and he has a number of awards to his credit, such as Commonwealth Academic Fellowship at University of Edinburgh, UK, Best Teacher and Academic Administrator Award, Environment Leadership Award 2017 in individual capacity by DST, Government of India, Himachal Pradesh, Shimla. He has held a number of important positions in university, such as Chairperson and Member Library Advisory Committee, Coordinator UGC Nodal Center for Computer Applications in Physics, Mathematics and Commerce. He owns the membership of various professional bodies, such as he is the president of Indian Association of Physics Teachers, as Syal ma'am said, member of Indian Science Congress Association, President Himachal Physical Society. I'm glad to share that he has been involved in popularization of science through features and talks on radios for the last 3 decades. He is also developing spoken tutorials and actively involved in community service. He is currently working on developing e-resources for one of the MSc courses for UGC, e-PG Pathshala project. And today we have the privilege of listening to him. Dr. Ahluwalia is going to talk to us about the kaleidoscopic view of impact of science and technology on human development. Please join me to welcome Dr. P.K. Ahluwalia with a big round of applause.
Thank you very much, and I am glad to be with you, Ma'am Meenakshi, Ma'am Sakshi, and the dear students. I am happy that we are in a hybrid mode today. I am online and you are offline. That's great. I think we are moving towards normalcy. That's good. Normal behavior will come, and I think we will be able to meet in person also, in face to face with each other. But don't worry, it is as good as face to face. We are now getting
Yeah.
used to this technology.
Yes.
And thanks to science and technology, it's only because of science that we are actually living what our ancestors, were telling us in Mahabharata. When Sanjay was, trying to tell Dhritarashtra what is happening in Kurukshetra, I think this was the kind of technology, but they were doing it through Divya Chakshus.
Yeah.
We are doing it with real Chakshus. That is the best part of this story. I think today's topic is very, very interesting. As ma'am said, Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate. And there is no doubt about this statement. But you know that from where have we borrowed this statement? It has been part of our ancient thinking and intellectual discussions and the kind of things which have happened much, much before us. We have been actually talking and behaving like this only. So the title of my talk is Kaleidoscopic View of Human Development Through Science and Technology, Impact of Innovation on Human Development Through Science and Technology. What am I going to talk with you? I have come to you in a case study mode to convince you that indeed, in the last 200 years, science and technology has influenced almost every human activity around us. We are part of that. Each one of us is a part of that. And I think thanks to this intervention of science and technology, that despite one of the unseen pandemic through which we are passing, we as teachers have been able to link with our students in many, many modes, not just one. This is one of the modes, meeting mode it is. Maybe we were talking with each other on video modes through, say, WhatsApp, or maybe we were talking through emails, we were talking with each other through YouTube, and so many things around us. And I think that is the biggest proof of the fact that science and technology has influenced us beyond our imagination, if you allow me to put it like that. It has happened beyond our imagination. I think as a student of science, I had never thought of such a scenario. Even as a teacher of science, in the last, say, 5 years, what I have seen, I had not imagined throughout my career in science for the last almost 40 years. So this is very, very interesting part of whole of the scenario which we are actually talking about. So let me proceed further and come to that fellow, that great man, that Bharat Ratna, in whose memory we are actually celebrating this Science Week. And I know that you know and you can identify him. He is Sir C.V. Raman. His full name was Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman. And he is the kind of person who we have yet to see in India. I am not exaggerating, but I am telling you a fact. We are still cribbing that maybe we will get some Nobel Prize in science by a person, he or she, who has done work in India itself, for which he or she gets the credit. We are still looking for that kind of a person. Despite the fact that we have now almost 75 years of independence with us. What was so great about it? You know, despite the fact that the most of work which he did was during British rule, but by thoughts, he was a very independent person. And he used to believe in one dictum, which is given in the quotation at the top. And the dictum was, the essence of science is independent thinking and hard work, not equipment. You know, the kind of things with which he worked, if somebody tells us today that he worked with this kind of an instrument, we start wondering, how could he imagine that this kind of an instrument can be used for discovering an effect which is known after his name, called Raman effect. It's unimaginable. A simple spectrometer, and he in fact invented a very intense source of light so that he could see the Raman spectra of something which he was studying at that point of time. One thing more I would like to tell you. He was, and his colleagues, they were all, highly motivated people, and they wanted to make a mark in an era when quantum mechanics was making great news. And these three people in India are known as quantum Indians. Sir C.V. Raman was the senior most among them, followed by Meghnad Saha, and followed by Shri Satyendranath Bose, Professor Satyendranath Bose. You might have heard his name as S.N. Bose. If you are a student of physics, you might have heard that we have a class of particles in nature. Almost 50% of the particles in nature are bosons. Bosons are the ones which have what we call integer spin. So this is the man to whom we are dedicating this particular week. And he was responsible for creating world-class research institutes in our country. He was director of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Later, he started, after retirement, when people think that we are retired, so we don't need to work, he started and created another institute which is known after his name, Raman Research Institute in Bangalore. I think you should visit Raman Research Institute on the web, and also Indian Institute of Science on the web, and you will find what fine institutions are there. We always hear one thing or the other because of these institutes only. I come from Shimla, and in Shimla we have a great institute of learning. It's called Indian Institute of Advanced Studies. Margaret Chatterjee was director there, and she was a philosopher and a Gandhian scholar. And because we were quite close to each other from university, you could walk to the Indian Institute of Advanced Study, which is housed in Rashtrapati Niwas. Dr. Radhakrishnan, our second president, actually dedicated that Rashtrapati Bhavan to the knowledge people that come on, create your knowledge here and share that knowledge with the people. Once we were having a discussion, and then she said that the application of organized knowledge to help society to solve its problems is the biggest thing which we should do. In this statement, if you look at organized knowledge, you will start wondering, what was she talking about? And let me take you to a very interesting meaning of science. If somebody asks me, what is science? Science is nothing but systematized knowledge. It is an organized knowledge. When we say that Vedas have our ancient knowledge in it, we say that because Vedas have brought together organized knowledge of that particular time. And that is why, so many people, foreigners who came to India, they got interested in learning of Vedas because they felt that organized knowledge in it is a wonderful contribution of Indians to the knowledge of the world itself. And one of the Vedas, for example, which is known as Ayurveda, was nothing but a Ved dedicated to the knowledge of keeping human beings healthy. And I think today when we think about it, that how they were actually doing all these things, collecting herbs, classifying them, extracting something out of them which can heal something in our body. It cannot happen unless such a knowledge is organized. And today we know science is nothing but an organized knowledge. Rather, anything which we feel is an organized knowledge, we can attach the term science with it. For example, home science is what? Organized knowledge about running of a home. Political science is what? Organized knowledge regarding the study of the political thought. So when I say science, in this sense, I mean organized knowledge. But when I talk normally about science, people will not say political science is science. We talk of this science which actually is connected with the nature around us and the natural phenomena. And when we are actually studying those phenomena of nature, nature sometimes reveals its secrets to us. And in the process of revealing those secrets, human mind has the capacity to convert that science into technology. And that technology is there to help the society and to help solve its problems. My first case study is corresponding to such a study, which was actually in the name of what we call as Michael Faraday. Maybe in the audience who are sitting here, they must have seen this picture of Michael Faraday. But if you have not seen this picture, I think you know who he is. And you also know that he is a great celebrity in science. Why? Because he was a person who tried to look at some organized knowledge created before him. He was knowing about a man called Oersted, who had done a beautiful experiment in which he had demonstrated that if there is a current carrying conductor, and if we bring a compass needle before it, we will find that the compass needle will start showing us deflection. So that means with a current carrying conductor, we can always associate the presence of a magnetic field. And it was there, known for almost 100 years. But Faraday was the one who asked an opposite question. And that question was, if I have a magnetic field, and if I bring a conductor in that magnetic field, will there be a flow of current in that or not? And for that, he created a very simple equipment. This you can see here. This is exactly precisely that instrument which Faraday used. He took a coil. In the form of a coil, he took that conductor, and he had a magnet which he just placed inside this conductor and waited for the current to flow, which he was ready to detect by means of a galvanometer. He was waiting and waiting and nothing was happening. And out of his frustration, what he did, he picked up the magnet and threw it inside the coil. And to his surprise, what he saw was his eureka moment. He saw deflection in the galvanometer. And when he took this magnet out, the galvanometer showed deflection in the opposite direction. So he repeated it. And you know what is the essence of truth of a scientific law? If you repeat that experiment again and again, and if you get the same result, then you can proclaim to the world that I have discovered something new. And that is the story of the discovery of what we call electromagnetic induction and Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So he conducted an experiment, observed it very carefully, drew some conclusions, and then he gave certain laws. And these laws are very well known. I don't think I should repeat those laws here. Up to +2, every student who has studied science knows these laws. But what is the importance of this particular discovery? In UK, in Britain, there is a tradition, and that was a tradition which was which is still going on, that whenever a scientist does something which is unusual, something which is making news, they are requested to come and give an evening lecture the way I am giving you here and show it to the audience that what they have done. And you know, Faraday, when he was to give that lecture, when he was invited to give that lecture in Royal Society, London, he took this apparatus with him with a very big galvanometer so that people sitting in the audience at far off places may also see that. And he showed to the audience what he had discovered. And he was quite, what you call excited about that demonstration. And he was also very pleased about what he had shown to the audience in that hall in the Royal Society, London itself. And as is the, habit of the scientist, at the end of his lecture, he asked audience, do you have any question? And he saw that one lady at the back of the hall has raised her hand. So Faraday said, yes, ma'am, tell me, what is your question? And that lady stood up and said, Faraday, I don't understand what you have shown us. Now, can you imagine the frustration which will grip like a poor mortal like me? I would have just told her, you don't understand, please sit down. But at that point of time, Faraday made a remark which was so prophetic about this discovery that today we realize that what he meant by that statement, which he made in that particular lecture. He said, ma'am, the baby has just been born. Baby is in the bathtub. Let the baby grow and see what it can do for you. Faraday was a great communicator, actually. And he has written many books. He was a very good science communicator. This particular lecture is also for science communication and popularization. And I think Faraday is one person whom I consider as a great guru of science communicators. He has written a beautiful book. I have sent that book already to Ma'am Meenakshi, PDF of that. I would request Ma'am Meenakshi to share that book with you in the PDF format. Read it. And the title of that book is The Chemical History of a Candle. And this is nothing but a set of 6 lectures which he delivered about the chemical history of a candle in the Royal Society, London itself. He was such a great person. And if he had been born after 1900, he would have got 4 Nobel Prizes. One for electromagnetic induction, second for discovering Faraday's laws of electrolysis, third for creating what we call electric motor. If we are talking of a Tesla car today, a Tesla car runs only on electric motor. There is a motor, electric motor only. And we are saying we are really having great technology today. But this was all discovered by Faraday. But engineers are very innovative. They can convert any simple rule of science, a law of science, an experiment of science, into something which can be useful to the society itself. He also synthesized benzene. He is known for that. So he was a rare combination of a physicist and a chemist. In this book, The Chemical History of a Candle, in the preface, he makes a beautiful statement. And that statement is, the lamp of science must burn. And I think this lamp of science, which has burned in the last 350 years, has made this earth where we are living today an unbelievable place. Our grandfathers, our grandmothers, our great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers had never imagined that with the press of a button, I can illuminate whole of my room. Why was Faraday talking about a candle? Because he was knowing that candle plays a very important role in the society at that point of time. And maybe people will be interested in knowing about this candle itself. So this was my first case study. Now I will come to another case study to which right now we are a part. If I am talking to you, I am part of the World Wide Web. my sound is coming to you, my picture is coming to you, my screen is coming to you. It's thanks to this man whom you are seeing on the screen. His name is Timothy Berners-Lee. Popularly, his colleagues call him Tim. And he was working in one of the greatest modern labs in Geneva, which is known as CERN. It is a particle physics lab where that particle of God has been seen and verified. And he was, apart from his assignment as a particle physicist, he was also, looking after the network of that lab. Normally, physics people are given such responsibilities because people think that they know all these things. So he was given that responsibility, and he was responsible for maintaining the network, receiving complaints and responding to those so that the network kept on working. One day, one of his colleagues, a scientist, came to him and he said that, Tim, can I imagine that when I am reading a research paper, and in that research paper, if a reference comes, and if I click on that reference, can I open that paper which has been referenced? So Tim said, yes, I have a technology of that kind. In fact, when I receive your complaint, I create one such click, and I am able to see what is your complaint and how I have addressed it. So he demonstrated that. And for that, he had created a language which is known as HTML, Hypertext Multiple Language, marked up language, sorry, Hypertext Marked Up Language. So that scientist suggested to him, Tim, why don't you write a proposal to the director of CERN to create this kind of a scenario? And he said, okay, all right, if you say I will write, but you will have to promise me one thing, that whenever you are going to create any research paper, you will provide me the digital form of that research paper, and then I will post it on the network, and anybody who would like to see it can just click on the link of that paper and he will be able to see it. So he started working on a proposal, and he gave a very simple title on top of that. The title was Information Management, a Proposal. I am showing you the first page of that project itself. So this proposal went to the director. He saw it, read it, and then he wrote on top a remark, vague but exciting. That was the beginning of World Wide Web. When somebody asked Tim, what is a web? He said, web is not a network of computers. Web is a network of people. And I think the witness to this statement we are seeing today, when I am talking to you, you are talking to me, you are watching me, actually we are networking through this technology, people. And see what has happened as a result of this technology. I am paying my bill online. I am receiving my books online. I am writing my papers online and submitting online and downloading those online. I am able to route to very highly systematized knowledge in the form of Google itself. Thanks to this idea, www, that we are able to actually become a part of all that. Now I am coming to a third case study. This case study is about an Indian whose name is Manu Prakash. Maybe some of you may have seen this creation and the creativity and the technology which he has created around an ordinary microscope which you find in a biology or a geology or a botany lab. Maybe in a zoology lab also. Pathology, what we call, the science of the earth and the things on the earth. This Manu Prakash, he is working in Stanford. And there, students have to do projects, undergraduate students. The way national education policy 2020 is now talking about. And he sent his students to a study tour, some to Indian subcontinent and some to African continent. And when they came back, sat down with Manu Prakash, they said, we have seen something in which those areas need help. And they said that we have identified it as health area. In health, people need a lot of help. They said people live in remote areas. They do not have a facility of getting their blood checked under a microscope. And because of that, they have to suffer for months before they know that what is actually the disease with which they are suffering. And they told him that we have found people suffering from malaria, which can be detected by putting a small slide under a microscope. And people have to wait for their tests to be conducted. For tuberculosis, for example, people have to wait, which can be detected by checking once again the sputum of a person under a microscope. And that microscope is very costly. An ordinary microscope in any zoology or botany lab will cost around 10,000 rupees. You can ask your ma'am or sir about it, that what is its cost? And this cost sometimes in poor countries is prohibitable. People cannot afford that. So with his group, Manu Prakash decided that I am going to create a microscope which will be very, very cheap and which will be made of paper only, not of glass. If you throw it with whatever force is at your disposal, it will not break. And he even thought of creating microscopes with different magnifications to identify different kinds of viruses and the bacteria. Microscopes have given face to these kinds of diseases, that you are able to put them under a microscope and you can identify what is that organism which is actually causing this kind of a problem. And he created that microscope by means of what we call origami, in the sense that by cutting the paper, you can convert something designed on a piece of paper into a working microscope itself. And it is all, visible here. Okay. And it has also got a source of light with which you can illuminate your sample also. And what is the cost? Just 50 cents. 50 cents actually mean half a dollar. Half a dollar means, if I go by the today's rate, 40 rupees. Can you imagine? In just 40 rupees, you are providing a microscope to a public health center. And you can have a variety of microscopes, one for malaria, one for tuberculosis, another for cholera, and so on. Unimaginable. And this is what is called innovation. Microscope remained microscope. But now we are finding that microscope is in a new avatar. And we can use it in new ways. Anybody can, go and buy this microscope in the market and keep it at home. Even after adding, the cost of making such instruments and marketing them, you can get a fold scope in the market. You can go on the, say, Flipkart or Amazon for about 300 to 350 rupees. This is what is called innovation. This is how science is helping mankind. Unimaginable. Nobody can really think of it like that. Now I'm coming to another case study, which is very, very interesting. And this is about another Indian connection, because if I am celebrating Sir C.V. Raman, I think I must also celebrate something which is happening now. And it is about a scientist working in Ayuka, Inter-University Center of Astronomy and Astrophysics. And this man devoted most of his life to the study of a dream of Einstein. And that dream was how one can detect the quantized wave of gravity. And he called these as something which was mission of his life. And he was a theoretical physicist, also, having some concern about the experimental aspects of it. And most of the times his colleagues used to say, you are not going to detect these gravitational waves. These are very, very difficult to detect. Why are you wasting your time on this kind of a problem? But he never left that problem. Rather, he trained very many students in this area. And when it was detected, gravitational wave, he was the man who was actually congratulated most, because in many of the labs which have been established internationally, many of his students are working there for some cause. And how did it get detected? It gets detected by a very simple device called Michelson-Morley equipment. But at this time, the source of light is not just any light, monochromatic light, but it is actually laser light. And to detect it, you require this light to travel over a distance of kilometers. So something which you are seeing in this screen is actually over a what you call area of kilometers. And to verify all these kinds of observations, scientists believe that you require these kinds of setups around the world at different places. And because of Sanjeev Dhurandar's work, India was identified for creating this kind of a gravitational wave observatory itself. And its name is Indigo. And when it was detected, Government of India, Department of Science and Technology, who is actually hosting your program also, gave about 1100 crores for creating this facility to detect gravitational waves. See how people have to really think of those equipments, those setups, and the kind of cost which is involved, that we discover the secrets of nature. Maybe I will give another very interesting article, ma'am, Meenakshi, to you by maybe email or by WhatsApp, in which you can really read something about Sanjeev Dhurandar. Please share that with your students also. Now I'm coming to case study number 5. This case study is regarding information technology, actually. And some of the leaders in this industry have been instrumental in establishing one of the most celebrated IT companies of our country, which has earned a very good name throughout the world, called Infosys. I think every student sitting in this audience must be knowing about Infosys, which was established by Narayana Murthy and the man whose picture you are seeing here. I don't know how many of you can really identify him, but he is the person who is behind creation of the Aadhaar card. His name is Nandan Nilekani. And government gave him a project for creating all the wherewithals for making Aadhaar card a reality in the hands of citizens. What is an Aadhaar card? Primary function is to provide identification of the individual. For example, if I go to the bank requires my identification. So that identification is available on some database somewhere, which is very secure, through which it is checked whether he is the same person or a different person. So it is a universal digital secure verification. Today, if you want to go to a bank asks for electronic know your customer identity. If you want to get a subsidy on LPG, you must have your Aadhaar card tagged with that. You can get your pension via Aadhaar card. Direct scholarships are coming in your bank accounts through direct bank transfers. It would not have been possible but for this technology and this small paper device called Aadhaar card. We have been given a unique identification number, and then if I have to verify myself, say in a what you call a depot of ration depot, you can just put your finger there and it will verify that he is the same person whose card is registered here. Rather now, government is talking because of this technology only that you will only have one card in the country and you can get your ration anywhere through that card from any ration shop. When Nandan Nilekani finished this project, he thought of writing an interesting case study of what he has and his colleagues have achieved. And he called that book Rebooting India. And in the preface of that book, Nandan Nilekani writes that if you want to change, and this change is going to come through what? Technology only, you only require 101 people. Who are these 101 people? They are one, the Prime Minister of the country, and 100 people working on 100 mission projects. Once we have this kind of a set of teams placed, we can always systematically address the problems which are plaguing us today, and we can settle them in a specified period also. Nilekani actually wrote this book with one of his colleagues, young colleagues. And I will recommend to the audience sitting in this hall of Hansraj Mahila Vidyalaya that you please catch hold of this book and read it. You will enjoy reading it. It has great visuals in it. And I think they have written it in a storytelling style, which is very, very enchanting. So this is second book which I am recommended to you to read. Now let me come today, what is the scenario going on? Our Prime Minister is always talking about Make in India. And for that, Rebooting India is one idea, Startup India is another idea, Stand Up India is another idea. And if you want to support all these ideas, you have another idea called crowdfunding. And we have some stories which have leapfrogged us from a primitive science country to a country who is now, rubbing its shoulders with the greatest of the countries in science. And this was possible because of two very confidence-building achievements of the country. One was making use of atomic energy for peace as well as for deterrence. And this was the creation of Bhava. Another was launching India into rocket era. And this was initiated by Vikram Sarabhai. These days on Sony Live, there is a program which is coming. It's actually kind of a 8 episodes. The title of the episodes is Rocket Boys. I would recommend that you should really watch that 8 episodes of Rocket Boys, and you will see under what circumstances we really created these kinds of technologies. Bhava was a scientist. Vikram Sarabhai was a scientist. Vikram Sarabhai was a student of Raman. And Bhava worked as a colleague with Raman when Raman was director, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Now, with the help of this kind of a ecosystem, what is happening now is that people are coming forward to start their own companies. And these two young boys, Vivek Krishna and Surya, they were knowing as engineering students that there is a new technology which is coming called 3D printer. So they thought of an idea. They said, if somebody comes to us and says that I want to present a gift to my fiancée, and I want that the picture of the fiancée, the way he or she looks, can be printed on a pendant, is it possible? And they found that this technology can create exact replica of the pictures in gold, in silver. So they thought of creating a company called Augrav. You can reach out to them through internet and you can give an order and they will give you the exact replica of what you want on that pendant. And here you can see that. And it is a very interesting technology. This is like, layer by layer building of materials for different tasks. Today, people are talking about 3D printing of houses. Everything of a house which you need to construct can be created through this 3D laser printer. And this printer can use different kinds of materials to create the objects. And there was a mentor of these two boys, Nandini Vaidyanathan, who actually helped in encouraging them to go ahead with the kind of dream which they were carrying in their minds. How could they make this dream possible? The technology, and that was through 3D laser printer. And this 3D laser printer uses laser whose basic birth happened in the study of the physics of some very special materials which can produce laser light, what we call. This is something which is again very interesting. This company has a great business these days of creating these kinds of very special ornaments for the audience. You can go to a goldsmith, he can never really create this. He may create some kind of a, engraving, which may look something like, a figure on the ornament, but it will not be an exact replica as we see in these pictures also. Now I am coming to another case study, and why I am coming to this, because I am trying to tell you that you don't need to really go out and work in some big lab to do some projects which may really make you very, very confident. Today we are talking about solar technology, solar lights, solar panels. People and government want that they should be able to create electricity for their day-to-day usage within their homes only. It was in 2010, the scenario was this, that there were very few such solar power plants. And today when we have reached 2021, in just 10 years, in just 10 years, what we have been able to do is, we have been able to generate a huge amount of electrical energy through these solar panels. So when we started off dreaming of having a 50 kilowatt captive solar power plant in our own university in Shimla, Himachal Pradesh University, I asked one of my students who were there thinking of doing a project, can we think of doing a project on creating a solar power plant? And they were a bit hesitant. They were saying, oh, we are not engineers. How can we do that? I told them, look, whatever engineers have been able to do, they have been able to do because we as physicists were able to provide them an idea that there is an effect which is called photovoltaic effect. That means if you try to shine some light on some kind of if I simply put it, a semiconductor device, you can convert that light into electrical energy. So when these boys did this project, we found that this is going to cost us about rupees 1.3 crore. And we had no money. The money which was available to us was 10% of this cost, that is around 13 lakhs. And we were dreaming of having this on our campus. So what we did, the same student project, we converted into a proposal, which we sent to Himurja, the new non-conventional energy sources agency of Government of Himachal Pradesh. And they sent it to non-conventional energy department of the Government of India. And it took us about 2 years. And by the time this project was sanctioned, the cost of this project had come down to about 84 lakh rupees. So that means now I could be saying that, okay, I only need an amount which is now much less than 1.3 crore. But there was another thing which came from this non-conventional energy department itself, and that was that they were giving 90% subsidy on that. That means you required only 10% of your own costs, rest will be borne by the government itself. And we were finding that this 13 lakh rupees was more than that 8.4 lakh rupees which was actually needed by us. So what I wish to tell you is this, that these kind of project ideas, which you can really generate while you are studying, can be converted into real projects. These students, after doing this project, were ready to go down in the market and do work related to this kind of establishment of solar power plants itself. And let me tell you one thing more. When the examiner who was to conduct the viva of these students, he was very much impressed. Impressed by the fact that they had done a lot of physics in their project report, and also they had done a lot of engineering through simulations. They actually simulated whole of the scenario to know how many things are needed for establishing a 50 kilowatt captive solar plant. We had a complete inventory generated out of those simulations itself. And we required for doing that simulation data from internet. We downloaded data about the climate of Shimla, that for how much time sun is available in Shimla. Rather, this photovoltaic doesn't require sun as it is. Even this light, when there are clouds, even at that time, it generates electricity for you. So please don't hesitate. Think of doing something in your campus only and see how you can help, say, your college to save electricity. You can think of doing this kind of a project. That will be a great exposure, a great learning experience, and it will give you a confidence that we can do something on our own. Now I am coming to Raman's student, Sarabhai. Why we know him? Because we know that he is the one who actually started what we call ISRO today, Indian Space Research Organization. And we are proud of that. Why we are proud of that? That they have lived up to the dream of Sarabhai. Between Bhava and Sarabhai, there was a lot of difference. Sarabhai was completely a Swadeshi person. He used to think in a Swadeshi fashion, how we can build everything in India. I am not trying to say that Bhava never thought like that. Bhava also thought how to make India self-reliant about atomic energy, because atomic energy technology people don't share. We had to discover the wheel also for having atomic energy right in our country. But there was one aim which was very clear in the mind of Bhava, that he wanted to use that energy for helping society, because this energy which is produced in an atomic power plant can be converted into electrical energy the way coal gets converted into electrical energy through thermal plants. Through atomic plants, atomic energy can be converted into electrical energy. And, when he was asked, there was a lot of criticism at that point of time that India is wasting money over such huge projects. What is the use of these kinds of projects? But now imagine, if we are today self-reliant in making of the missiles, thanks to the technology which we developed under the leadership of Sarabhai. And Dr. APJ Kalam was in fact a colleague of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai himself. And that is the kind of training which APJ Kalam had. And he wanted to tell people that if we try, we can build all these capacities in India only. That capacity for launching a missile and capacity for launching a rocket requires same science. It is not very different science. So when Vikram Sarabhai was talking about space technology, he was saying that we are convinced that if we are to play a meaningful role nationally and in the community of nations, we must be second to none in the application of advanced technologies to the real problems of man and society. I hope you remember my lecture's title, How Science and Technology Has Helped in Human Development. How this space technology is helping us. This communication which is happening between me and you, it is coming via satellites only to you. We use satellites for communication. We use satellites for dish TVs. Those dish antennas which we have in our homes now, Airtel or dish TV of Doordarshan or of Tata Sky, they are all drawing on a communication through satellites only. INSAT series was there for creating this kind of a satellite channel. In 70s, I am talking of something happening almost 40 years back. When we were trying to use this technology, Professor Yashpal, who later became chairman of the University Grants Commission, started as the chairman of University Grants Commission, what is known as Worldwide Classroom, in which for the first time, we started telecasting educational programs on the television itself. And this is a linkage between science, technology, and society. Lately, 3-4 years back, in a Indian Science Congress meeting in India, a Nobel laureate came. His name is David Gross. He is a Nobel laureate in physics. He actually gave us a new meaning to change what our mentality is. He said, don't just focus on Make in India. Actually, go from Make in India to Discover in India, Invent in India, and Make in India. And I think today, Government of India has launched a huge project for developing semiconductor industry. And that is actually a step in this direction only. We are imagining that we will be able to create not only our own indigenous mobiles, but our own indigenous technologies with the use of semiconductors, which we can supply to other people also. When I'm talking of a Tesla vehicle, or when I'm talking of a Google vehicle, which has got artificial intelligence, you don't require a driver to run that. The base of that is semiconductor technology. And we have to be self-reliant in that. Nobody gives you help when it comes to advanced technologies. You have to create your own advanced technologies. And that is the kind of confidence today I think our country has got after 75 years of independence. We have been able to, make the slogan of 60s, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan to Jai Vigyan. And that is the need of the hour also. So I'm at the end of my lecture, and I'll just leave you with a small thought. And that thought is in the form of a Swedish proverb. It says, those who want to sing always find a song. You know what is the meaning of it? कि अगर हमें कुछ करना हो, तो हम उसको करने के लिए सारी जुगाड़ इकट्ठी कर सकते हैं. हमें बहाने बनाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं. क्योंकि हमको पता है हमने वो गाना गाना है, इसलिए हम सॉन्ग भी ढूंढेंगे, उसके साथ म्यूजिक भी ढूंढेंगे. अगर मुझे रॉकेट बनाना था, go on the internet and try to see some pictures of APJ Kalam and Sarabhai. You will find Sarabhai is sitting in a place where it looks like a workshop of a blacksmith, जहाँ पे वो अपने rockets की body को बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. I think those kinds of pictures elevate you to do something for your country. And I think that is the need of the hour. So let me say, wish you happy discovering, happy inventing, and happy innovating for human development. Thank you very much.